Hello everyone, welcome to Vaishai's YouTube channel and to the series of ethics. We are in the episode 7 of ethics series. So before starting the video, I'll give you a small announcement. These videos and all other free videos which are going on freely on the Vaishai's YouTube channel are actually the part of the paid courses of Vaishai is, and if you're not giving the proper feedback, we'll immediately turn them into the paid course part. So considering this, like, share, subscribe and comment with your feedback in the comment box so that it will give us boost up and it will increase the efficiency. And let's start the video. So we are going to learn the next philosophy or next theory. It is related to deontology. So deontology, if we break the word deontology, it is divided into deonto and logy. So deonto means, logy means science. So deontology is a science of means. So it will emphasize on means rather than ends. So deontology is a philosophy which is called as science of means, where means are preferred to ends. And it is a philosophy of science of means that human action should not create means and ends relationship, rather than they should have important means rather than the ends. So deontology is saying that there should not be any means and ends relationship. We should have only means and ends should be in itself. Okay, means and ends relation should not be there, but we should give more emphasis on means so that human action will considered to be ethical. This is what deontology is saying. Immanuel Kant is a rational thinker who emphasizes on means, not ends. So, Immanuel Kant is a philosopher who belongs to the school of deontology. He is a rational thinker who will give more emphasis on means rather than the ends. Human action should be based on the rational thinking in any given situation. He is saying that human action, whenever we are performing some action, it should be based on the rational thinking and critical thinking. Human should follow the moral command which comes from the moral conscience. So he is saying that whatever we are behaving, whatever the action we are performing, it should come from our moral conscience or the moral, we should have the moral autonomy, and there should be some moral command which should be given to us within ourselves so that we'll act accordingly with the ethical conduct. Human action should be itself right rather than it is judged based on the consequences of action. He is saying that whenever we are performing some action, our ethical conduct based on that action should be justified or should be judged based on the means which we are following rather than the consequences. Okay, we should not see the consequences, rather we should judge a person's ethical conduct based on the means or based on the path he is following. And the next one is Immanuel Kant belonging to this branch. Yes, we have just now studied it. He gave two principles of deontological approach. So he gave two principles. The first principle is human should act in such a fashion that the action should become end in itself rather than the means to achieve the end. So he told that the action which we are performing, it should become end in itself, and we should not think about the end before considering or emphasizing on the means. So we should just give importance to the means, and end will be itself. This is his first principle. The second principle is human should act in such a fashion that action should become universal, that is moral absolutism. He is saying that whenever the performance is done by some human, like if you are writing an exam, if you are a person A and you are writing the exam, and the universal principle while you are writing an examination is you should not cheat, and you should write the answers whichever you know rather than cheating by any means. Okay, if the person B is writing the exam, in the same situation, when he is writing the exam, he should also not cheat. The same principle is applying on person A and person B. So in the same situation, different people will have same action, so that it can be considered to be universal. So he is saying whenever some action is performed, it should be in a universal nature, and all the people should act on the same way in the same situation. So he is propagating the moral absolutism. He is giving emphasis on the moral absolutism. It means that our action should be based on our moral conscience or moral absolutism or moral order. In means and ends relationship, action can become end in itself only when human acts selflessly. So he told that action should become end in itself rather than means to achieve some ends. Okay. If we are not giving the proper relationship between the means and ends, like who can give? Who can give only means without expecting any ends? The person who acts selflessly can show no relationship between the means and ends, and he will have the ethical conduct if he is not acting selflessly. Selfishly. If he is not acting selfishly, and if he is acting selflessly, then there will not exist any relationship between means and ends, and the action which is performed can be considered to be ethical action. And selflessness is first among the 7 principles of ethics of civil servants according to the Nolan Committee. You can see the importance of the selflessness. It is considered to be one of the most important principles of the civil servants. Nolan Committee has told this, not me. And basis of his principles. So what are the bases on which he proposed these 2 principles of universal and a mean should be given more important? So he gave the golden rule to achieve these 2 principles, that is the selfless duty. He is saying the selfless duty is the golden rule for achieving these 2 principles. Human have the moral conduct from his or her own command or consciousness to act selflessly. He is saying that every human will have that kind of moral conscience which gives the moral command to act selflessly in a given situation, which will lead to an ethical command or ethical action. He says highest level of human consciousness is the moral autonomy. So when the human is having some conscience or moral command, the highest level of it can be a moral autonomy. Moral autonomy is nothing but if a person is performing some action, if he is taking the decisions based on his own will rather than getting influenced by some other people or some other ideologies, if he is taking his own decisions based on the moral ideology, then he is told to be morally autonomous. Human consciousness will give moral command to act selflessly. Okay, who will give you the moral command to act selflessly is your consciousness itself. He says human cannot follow moral standards if he follows the means and ends. So moral standards cannot be performed if there is a relationship between the means and ends. So let's see some applications of the Kantian philosophy now. At the individual level, his philosophy speaks about the rational thinking, dutifulness, act as per the moral command or moral conscience. So dutifulness is also mentioned in Gita, and he spoke about rational thinking. He spoke about the moral command and moral conscience, which are very important for achieving the moral autonomy by the individual at the individual level. So individual should not see consequences, otherwise people may not speak truth and be rational. So if you're an individual who is performing an action, if he sees some consequences to perform that action, he may not speak truth and he cannot be rational. So one should not think about the consequences, so he can speak truth in any particular situation and he can act rationally with logic. When means and ends relationship is bought by individual, it leads to greediness even in the cost of compromising means. So when you are performing some action, if you are thinking about the ends, for example, if you are a civil servant and if you want to achieve a civil services because you want to be corrupted, you want to earn much money, you want that power in your hands to corrupt, to perform this corrupt practices. So you have kept some goal, you have kept some goal to achieve money through illegal means. So you are having some ends. So you are preparing for the exam thoroughly. So if your ends and means there is a relationship, you can go to any such a situation in which you can compromise your means. So in order to achieve this ends, you may cheat in the exam to gain good marks. You may perform some other activities to gain good marks. You may not follow the right path to get the good marks in the exam. So human can go into such a situation where he can compromise its means to achieve the ends. So he should not have any means and ends relationship. each individual should act universally in the same situation when he is kept. Applications in the administration and governance. So, Kantian philosophy is even applied in the administration level or the governance level. So, Kant's first principle is applicable in secularism or the secular state. So, when you're not thinking about ends, it will help you lead to the secular state and it will lead to the neutral society. And because of the rational thinking and the critical thinking, it will lead to the equality and equity in the society. And if a state is not thinking about any ends but going through the proper means, it will lead to the good governance of the society. It will help to drive against the corruption and black money uh, which is prevailing in the society. For example, the introduction of Right to Information Act, the Citizen Charter, CBI, and police administration. These are all part of the institutional mechanism, and these are all the application of the Kantian philosophy in order to avoid the means and ends relationship, and in order to drive against the corruption and black money in the society and achieve a perfect society in which the ethical standards are prevailing. Now let's see some criticism regarding the Kantian philosophy. So Kant spoke about the moral absolutism in order to act selflessly. So moral absolutism is often criticized because the standards of the human conduct are relative in nature as knowledge is relative. Okay, we are not rigid in nature, we are relative, we act according to the situation. So our behavior is influenced by society, culture, values and all, our family also. So action can't be universal in nature. His concept of universal in nature and his concept of moral absolutism is often criticized because of the relative nature of the human being. Human life cannot be without means and ends relationship. Even Gandhi told that right means will give the right ends, right ends will give the right means. So even Jainism speaks about means and ends relationship. So there cannot be human life without means and ends relationship. So it is not at all possible. So he is criticized on this basis. Sometimes utilitarian philosophy has its own relevance. Sometimes action of the human or the ethical conduct of the human can be judged based on the consequence. So it is not good to always criticize the utilitarian philosophy and so utilitarian philosophy is also having its own relevance in the judging the ethical standards of the human. Human behavior is dynamic, and moral absolutism or moral rigidity, which is proposed by the Kant in ethical conduct, is not at all possible because human action or the behavior is dynamic in nature. It can be based on the situation and circumstances as well. In spite of having many criticisms, Kantian philosophy has some significance in today's society. It will be helpful to have the quality of the human conduct, and it will lead to the selflessness of the human conduct. Okay? And acting right without the influence of the consequence will create a moral society based on the selflessness. It will be helpful for giving the quality human conduct, and it will be helpful for the selflessness of the human conduct, and it will also lead to the good and the proper society where selfishness doesn't prevail. He set some high benchmarks for the ethical conduct, so he is considered to be very important even in the contemporary society. So that is it for today's video. I hope so you enjoyed the video lecture, and subscribe the channel, like the video and give your feedback in the comment section. So there are many videos, many free content which is going in the Vaishai's YouTube channel. There are foundational videos which tells about the UPSC exam in detail. There are previous exams questions which are being solved through videos, through many videos. And if you want to join the test series, which is one of the most qualitative in nature, in which thousands of aspirants have been benefited out of them, you can WhatsApp to the number that is 7200681675. You will get details of enrollment into the test series. Okay, that is it for today's video, and hope so you have enjoyed it. And let's meet with another beautiful video in the next lecture. And until then, take care. Bye bye.